All right. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Had a few technical things to iron out. We'll be live on Binance uh, um, and YouTube right now. Today is the 29th of August. Thank you for being with us. All right. So this is Hashed Out Daily Crypto News with Cryptopolitan. I'm your host, Philip Kripe. Nice to have you guys here on such short notice. Normally, I have the video ready to go the day before, like not the video itself, but the live stream is set up. For some reason today, that wasn't the case, so I had to set it up in the last few minutes. All right, so let's jump right into it. The crypto week ahead, rate hikes on the horizon. September 23 key indicators. Let's take a look at this article. It's from yesterday afternoon. Crypto market analysts predict that digital assets will either have a bull run or the worst crypto bear market in the last quarter of 2023. Consumer confidence and JOLTS job openings begin off the week with Fed Chair Powell hinting at more rate hikes on Friday. So that's the Federal Reserve in the United States. Hi, Kiko66. Hi, Alta Mayos. Nice to have you guys with us again. Altameos, I think you're new. I don't remember your name, but Kiko67, I've seen you in here for the last like 2 weeks. Thanks for jumping in and being part of the show every day. It's awesome. So the GfK German consumer climate results on Tuesday will be closely watched ahead of German inflation figures on Wednesday. Crypto investors placed their hope on crypto miners ahead of the Bitcoin halving in April 2024. So it was a relatively quiet week on crypto Twitter, reflecting the week's sluggish market news cycle. Nevertheless, this meant a much-needed recovery period for virtually every prominent crypto. On the other hand, Bitcoin begins the new week battling $26,000 as August becomes its worst month of 2023. So how's the crypto market performing? Following Judge Annalisa Torres's judgment that XRP is not a security for most cases, XRP rallied last month. It was widely regarded as a significant victory for the token issuer Ripple, a corporation engaged in a legal battle with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, mostly known as the SEC. Previously, the crypto skeptic regulator asserted that all cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin are securities. However, the gains from that victory were short-lived. XRP tanked on the news that the SEC would appeal the case. And it went down steadily between then and between the original court decision and the appeal. This week, the market cap of chipmaker NVIDIA surpasses that of cryptocurrencies due to the excitement surrounding artificial intelligence technology, one of the company's hardware offerings. Don't forget that miners are also NVIDIA customers. The team's multi-sig Ethereum address transferred 16.045 trillion Pepe, valued at $16.85 million at the time, to Binance, OKX, KuCoin, and Bybit on Thursday, as the value of the meme coin continued to plummet for the second consecutive week. And that wasn't all that it did. Crypto markets this week, what to prepare for. September is a historically weak month for Bitcoin, and with the August month close just days away, could another downside surprise be in store? This week, macro triggers are once more taking a back seat, with the personal consumption expenditures, or PCE index, data being the highlight of an otherwise quiet week for crypto contagion. Despite this, traders and analysts are vigilant. Many are preparing for further declines with no sign of a turnaround in sight. Turn for the currencies. For the dollar, on Tuesday, consumer confidence and JOLTS job openings began off the week. Fed Chair Powell hinted at more rate hikes on Friday. Consumer confidence rising and job vacancies remaining stable would support a more hawkish Fed policy outlook. Consumer confidence is boosted by tight labor market circumstances, which fuels consumption and demand-driven inflation. ADP non-farm employment movement and second quarter GDP numbers must be considered on Wednesday. The ADP results have traditionally deviated from the U.S. jobs report. Thus, the impact on risk sentiments should be limited. However, changes to the second quarter GDP figures would shift the needle. The PCE price index report will influence market sentiment toward monetary policy and unemployment claims numbers. A drop in initial jobless claims, an increase in consumer expenditure, and persistent inflation would increase bets on a September Fed rate move. The US jobs report, which is due out on Friday, might confirm the Fed's policy stance. The focus will be on wage growth and non farm payroll figures. A stable unemployment rate and an increase in wage growth would drive hawkish Fed bets. That makes sense. For the euro will be influenced by preliminary August inflation figures, as well as consumer mood and expenditure figures. The GfK German consumer climate results on Tuesday will be closely watched ahead of German inflation figures on Wednesday. Lower inflation and a decline in consumer mood would provide bearish price signals. Eurozone inflation, German retail sales, and German unemployment numbers must all be taken into account Thursday. Another drop in German retail sales, along with deteriorating labor market conditions, would put buyer appetite to the test. However, the focus will be on Eurozone inflation. On Thursday, French GDP, inflation, and consumer mood figures will almost certainly take a back seat to those from Germany and the Eurozone. But they'll also be coming out, so that's something to keep an eye out for. France is the second economy in the Eurozone. The manufacturing sector PMI statistics for August bring a conclusion to a busy week. Following the disastrous August preliminary statistics, changes to the flash numbers and the Italian PMI should have a greater impact. A Bitcoin crash could lead to a catastrophic crypto week. There are no prizes for predicting how Bitcoin closed its most recent weekly candle, particularly if one is familiar with previous closes. Bitcoin USD dropped to $25,880 before stabilizing marginally higher, according to TradingView data, despite holding steady at $26,000 at the close. Bitcoin has underperformed this month, even by August standards, which have rarely given supporters cause for celebration. The Bitcoin to USD exchange rate is down 11% this month, and as the weekly close approaches, market observers are growing anxious. A comparison of data from the surveillance resource CoinGlass reveals that August 2023 is already competing with August 2022 to be Bitcoin's worst August since August 2015. The Bitcoin price dropped 13.9% in August 2022, marking the beginning of a painful half year. However, based on past patterns, others believe that September might easily end up being virtually as awful for Bitcoin and the general crypto industry. Crypto's longest bear market. Meanwhile, by examining year-on-year percentage returns for Bitcoin to USD, the actual depth of the recent bear market becomes obvious. Hi, Hasna Rurat. Nice to have you with us. According to Michael van de Poppe, founder and CEO of Trading Business 8, Bitcoin has seen the longest bear market in history. In recent thoughts on the crypto market, he stated, right now, price of Bitcoin is nowhere near the valuation of the peak in November 21. It's down more than 50% and in a bear market of 490 days. That's Michael van de Poppe. An accompanying chart contrasted the current 490-day negative year-on-year returns to earlier periods, with 2015 lasting 386 days. Van de Poppe said that even good news items, such as the upcoming approval of the United States' first Bitcoin spot price exchange traded fund, or ETF, had not yet permeated market consciousness. Hash rate outlook for the crypto market. Could Bitcoin miners provide investors with a silver lining before the end of the year? As previously reported, one theory predicts that miners will bid up the price of Bitcoin during the fourth quarter in anticipation of the April 2024 block subsidy halving, which will reduce their reward per mined block by 50%. They should join smart money, quote unquote, in doing so, generating their own excitement around the halving narrative, even if the broader market typically reacts to emission changes only after the fact. The hash rate is an estimate of the processing power devoted to mining. While it is impossible to measure it precisely, figures from on-chain analytics firm Glassnode indicate not only new all-time highs, but also a flurry of upward adjustments in contrast to stagnant or declining Bitcoin price performance. Last week, Bitcoin also experienced one of its steepest difficulty increases of 2023, bringing the on-chain fundamental benchmark to all-time highs. That's an interesting article to start the day off with. Hi, Binance users 710E2 and Hannibal for UK. Nice to have you guys with us. All right, Robinhood unveiled as third largest Bitcoin holder. Robinhood has been revealed as the third largest Bitcoin holder with $3 billion in Bitcoin assets, trailing only Binance and Bitfinex. The identification of Robinhood as the owner of a mysterious Bitcoin wallet ends months of speculation within the crypto community. Despite its massive Bitcoin holdings, Robinhood reported a decline in crypto trading volumes, with the second quarter revenue dropping 18% to $31 million. Robinhood, the widely used trading and investment platform, has been identified as the third largest holder of Bitcoin, boasting about $3 billion in Bitcoin assets. Binance and Bitfinex hold $6.4 billion and $4.3 billion in Bitcoin, respectively. It's all according to Arkham Intelligence. So that's 118,300 Bitcoins that have been moved to this wallet in the span of 3 months, starting from March 8th to July 14th, for those that are interested in having the exact most detailed information. Hi, Confiros 6C18. Nice to have you with us. One Inch Investment Fund's wallet acquires $10 million in Ethereum. The 1 Inch Investment Fund's wallet recently acquired 6,088 Ethereum, valued at approximately $10 million, drawing attention from market analysts and the crypto community. The wallet has a history of strategic investments in Ethereum, including a series of purchases earlier this year that totaled around $26.8 million, as well as a profitable sale that netted approximately $3.7 million. Interesting. On China's economy, markets send surprising message. What's going on? Despite concerns, Chinese markets don't reflect impending economic doom. Chinese bank shares have risen 2.4% in the past year, outperforming U.S. banks by 12.6%. Chinese government bonds have surpassed U.S. treasuries by over 30% in less than 3 years. China-sensitive commodities and Western brands are thriving, contrary to negative economic predictions. Okay. China, banks and bonds defying the norms. To begin with, bank performance typically foreshadows an impending financial crisis. History shows that banks' share prices dive months before any major financial debacle, like the S&P's plummet before Lehman Brothers' fall in 2008, or European banks shedding value before the euro crisis. In stark contrast, Chinese bank shares have grown by 2.4% over the past year, outpacing even U.S. banks by a staggering 12.6%. It's hard to pin down a financial disaster where local banks outdo their U.S. counterparts by such a margin. So is this an unprecedented scenario, or the dire prediction simply off the mark? Moreover, Chinese government bonds have surprisingly outperformed traditional safe investments like U.S. treasuries. Where both yielded similar returns before the pandemic, since early 2020, long-dated Chinese government bonds have soared by 17.1%, while U.S. treasuries have dipped by 13.4%. Again, we're left with an intriguing question. Is it unprecedented for a country supposedly on the brink of a financial crisis to see its bonds outdo U.S. treasuries by over 30% in under 3 years? Good question. Don't see how that has anything to do with it. Not all signs point to crisis. Doubters might dismiss market indicators, arguing that Beijing's influence can distort signals. But casting the net wider reveals even more anomalies. Commodity prices, especially China-sensitive ones like iron ore, have risen substantially, contradicting notions of a struggling Chinese economy. So people are buying iron. Does that mean that China is the one buying it? The surge in share prices for China-reliant Western brands like LVMH, Hermes, and Ferrari further muddies the waters. If China were truly teetering on the edge of a systemic crisis, these brands, particularly luxury ones, shouldn't be thriving. That's debatable. If the elites are still doing fine in the crisis, they'll still buy luxury brands, so that wouldn't actually change anything, um, unless they're worried that they're no longer going to be economic elites. Just the whole thing. Привет, Yuri Mnemik. Cool. Yeah, that's the first time somebody's written to me in Russian in this, or yeah, that's Russian. At least it's an alphabet I can read. It's been hard to read the Sinhalese and Arabic messages because I don't read the alphabet. But thanks for joining us. Spasibo. The surge in share prices for China. So it's also worth noting that not all economic indicators in China are bleak. The resurgence of tourist traffic in Macau and a buoyant domestic tourism sector offer glimmers of hope. Tourism doesn't save economies. Even with minor hiccups in June and July, car sales have remained robust throughout the year. That's a more interesting indicator to me. And let's not overlook the recent uptick in sales growth reported by retail giant Alibaba. That's also more interesting to me. Of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. China's economy has its fair share of challenges. Economic growth, both cyclically and structurally, is indeed decelerating. But the chasm between most China-related assets' performance, both domestically and internationally, and the widespread apprehensions of an imminent systemic disaster is too vast to ignore. Debatable. We didn't say anything about the construction industry or the housing industry or loans in this article, which are part of the reason why people are expecting, well, some analysts are expecting an imminent systemic disaster. I don't see any improvement on that side. Hi, King Elias. Nice to have you with us. Is it Elias or Elias? So we're talking about the right now we're talking about China's economy. We're about to move on, so you jumped in at the right time. This article basically says that China's economy might be okay because people are still buying expensive handbags. Both is the same. Yeah. Going back into crypto news, first of its kind, SEC takes legal action on NFTs, impact theory in the hot seat. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has charged Impact Theory, a Los Angeles-based media and entertainment company, for conducting an unregistered offering of securities in the form of non-fungible tokens (NFTs). This marks the SEC's first ever enforcement action related to NFTs. The SEC applied the Howey test to determine that the NFTs sold by Impact Theory were investment contracts and thus classified as securities. The decision has sparked debate among regulators and market participants about the future of NFT regulation. I find this interesting, so if you don't mind, I'll read this a bit more. So let's see. The company, co-founded by Tom Bilyeu, a YouTube host with over 3.7 million subscribers, raised approximately $30 million from hundreds of investors through the sale of these NFTs. From October to December 2021, Impact Theory offered and sold 3 tiers of NFTs known as Founders Keys, labeled Legendary, Heroic, and Relentless. The SEC's order stated that the company encouraged potential investors to view the purchase of a Founders Key as an investment into the business. Impact Theory emphasized its ambition to build the next Disney, promising tremendous value to Founders Key purchasers if the company succeeded in its efforts. The SEC concluded that these NFTs were investment contracts and thus fell under the category of securities, making their sale an unregistered offering in violation of federal securities laws. Yeah, I can see how you can make that. You could make that argument. Regulatory debate intensifies as SEC applies Howey test to NFTs. The SEC's decision has sparked a regulatory debate, particularly concerning the application of the Howey test, a 1946 U.S. Supreme Court case used to determine whether transactions are investment contracts to NFTs. Republican Commissioners Hester Pierce and Mark Uyeda criticized the SEC's move, stating that the case raised larger questions that the Commission should address before pursuing additional NFT-related cases. They argued that the promises made by impact theory were not sufficient to form an investment contract under the Howey test. Hi, Binance user 78AF0 and Binance user 6BB82. As part of the settlement, impact theory agreed to cease and desist, cease and desist order, and will pay more than $6.1 million in disgorgement, prejudgment interest, and civil penalties. The order also establishes a fair fund to return monies to injured investors. Furthermore, the company agreed to destroy all founders' keys in its possession and to publish a notice of the order on its websites and social media channels. The case has far-reaching implications for the NFT market, which has seen exponential growth and diversification in recent years, and then like a 95% downfall in the last year. One impact theory founder's key NFT collection listed on OpenSea generated about $5.4 million in trading volume. The SEC's action could serve as a precedent for future regulatory measures in the NFT space, potentially affecting how these digital assets are classified and traded. This landmark case also raises questions about the SEC's future approach to NFTs and other crypto assets. The Commission is now under pressure to provide clear guidelines and to address the unique challenges posed by these new forms of investment. The SEC's recent action may serve as a regulatory watershed moment, setting the stage for how NFTs and similar assets will be governed in the coming years. We'll see how that goes. Hi, Binance user 02B85. Nice to have you with us. Hi, Giant87, Altameos. Hi again. All right. House Financial Services Committee leadership asks Fed to cease undermining stablecoin legislation. Interesting. House Financial Services Committee leadership have addressed a letter to Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, expressing strong criticism of the Fed's recent moves towards regulating stablecoins. The joint statement alleges that the Fed's actions indirectly dissuade banks from actively participating in the digital asset landscape. Representative Patrick McHenry, who holds the position of chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, has collaborated with French Hill, the chairman of the Digital Assets and FinTech Subcommittee, and Bill Huizenga, the chairman of the Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee. In the letter that was made public today, there were issues highlighted with the actions undertaken by the Federal Reserve Board through the issuance of 2 letters, specifically titled Supervisory Non-Objection Process for State Member Banks Seeking to Engage in Certain Activities Involving Dollar Tokens, also known as SR 23-8, and Creation of Novel Activities Supervision Program, known as SR 23-7. The Fed released the letters on August the 8th, 2023, and have elicited concerns among legislators who fear that these actions may erode the progress achieved by Congress in establishing a robust regulatory framework for stablecoins used in payments. The bipartisan support for the regulatory framework is evident, notably seen in the favorable reporting that the Clarity for Payment Stablecoins Act has received from the House Committee on Financial Services. This legislative initiative establishes a transparent and permissive structure for regulated institutions, including banks within the Federal Reserve's jurisdiction, to issue payment stablecoins. The framework upholds rigorous standards encompassing transparency, reserves, liquidity, and risk management. The joint statement alleges that the Fed's actions indirectly dissuade banks from actively participating in the digital asset landscape, owing to the release of these supervisory and regulatory letters. The authors contend that these letters inhibit banks' involvement with payment stablecoins and other activities associated with digital assets. That, in turn, is perceived as undermining the intricately crafted legislative framework established for these purposes. Moreover, as detailed in the Novel Activities Supervision Program SR 23-7, the Federal Reserve's approach is being criticized for introducing unnecessary and intricate regulatory hurdles for banking institutions seeking involvement with crypto assets. Critics argue this approach might result in a de facto prohibition on banks' participation in the digital asset sector that in turn could stifle innovation and impede economic growth in this emerging domain. The letter accuses the Fed of bypassing administrative procedures, raising concerns about transparency and accountability. This bypass of notice and comment processes may impact the effectiveness and legitimacy of regulatory measures, potentially impacting the notice and comment process. As part of its latest supervisory efforts, the U.S. Federal Reserve outlined new regulations for state banks within its system regarding the issuance, possession, or transactions involving dollar backed tokens, including stablecoins used in payment facilitation. The central bank's directive requires these state banks to secure written supervisory non objection from the Federal Reserve before engaging in such activities. Furthermore, the Federal Reserve is establishing a novel supervisory program to oversee crypto related efforts, blockchain technology, and non bank partnerships driven by technology. This initiative will complement the existing supervisory processes and enhance oversight of technology driven actions conducted by banks under its jurisdiction. This development follows closely after PayPal introduced its stablecoin, a cryptocurrency often tied to traditional assets like the US dollar. Historically, efforts by prominent mainstream entities to introduce stablecoins have encountered substantial opposition from financial regulators and policymakers. Notably, Meta's efforts to launch the Libra stablecoin in 2019 faced regulatory pushback due to concerns about potential disruptions to global financial stability. Hi, Binance user 02B85 again. Okay, you're talking about boxes. Got it. I'll let you guys talk about that in the chat. Turkey's central bank still in its plan to achieve disinflation in 2024. The Central Bank of Turkey has stated that it remains committed to following a strategic plan to establish the conditions for achieving sustainable disinflation in 2024. The Central Bank's Policy Committee declared its intention to tighten the policy rate further, as much as needed in a timely and gradual manner to mitigate inflation. How are they doing so far? Despite a notable reduction in Turkey's annual inflation to around 38.21% in June, it experienced an upward surge to nearly 48% in the previous month. This escalation can be attributed to the depreciation of the Turkish lira and recent tax increases. Officials acknowledge that inflation is expected to climb further towards the end of 2023. Last month, the Central Bank of Turkey significantly revised its forecast, doubling its expectations for the consumer price index to reach 58% by the year end. This projection was a significant increase from its previous inflation report in March, which had predicted an inflation rate of 22.3% for the same period. Fizge Erkan, the governor of the Central Bank of the Republic of Turkey, CBRT, emphasized the institution's commitment to implementing a roadmap to ensure the commencement of sustainable disinflation in 2024. She noted that the central bank is taking gradual and resolute steps toward this goal, aligning with the strategy shared in the inflation report meeting. Erkan's statements followed a surprising move by the central bank the previous week, raising its benchmark policy rate by an unexpectedly substantial 750 basis points, bringing it to 25%. It demonstrated a renewed determination to address the escalating inflation as part of a broader shift in policy. Just a second. So their inflation rate right now is around 38.21% in June, right? It's around 40% because it was 48% the month before June. So when you have around 40% inflation, to get to disinflation, first you have to get to zero. And they already have a 25% interest rate. How is their economy even functioning right now? That's insane. So if you're okay, let me get this straight. If your inflation rate is around 40%, that means per month, every month the price of goods goes up almost half compared to the month before. And if you took out a loan, the interest rate is at least is over 25%. So you can't really take out loans. you can't really buy anything. Um, your buying power is diminishing by the minute. That's awful. Turkey's working on stabilizing the economy. I can understand why. Beyond the monetary tightening measures, there have been. I haven't paid attention to Turkey's economy in detail for like the last 4 years because I didn't have a reason to. But I missed the part where they had so much inflation. Beyond the monetary tightening measures, there have been additional indications of enduring changes within Turkey's economic landscape. Authorities have raised taxes, tempering domestic demand to manage budget deficits. Furthermore, foreign exchange reserves have been bolstered by approximately $20 billion, 531.32 billion Turkish lira, aiming to prevent any potential crisis related to the current account deficit. Hmm. The central bank has embarked on a targeted approach to tighten credit availability. It has initiated the gradual withdrawal of a deposit scheme that provided foreign exchange protection for lira deposits, guarding them against forex depreciation. Um, hmm. Yeah, I can see how that scheme wouldn't work. Top officials in Turkey are preparing to unveil an extensive economic program next month to mitigate uncertainties. The forthcoming program will outline a transition towards greater economic and financial predictability. It will also encompass 3 year macro forecasts. Mehmet Şimşek, I guess, the Treasury and Finance Minister, is scheduled to launch this investor roadshow on September 19th at the headquarters of Goldman Sachs in New York, as reported by Reuters. Following meetings in New York and the United Nations, where President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is also slated to be present. Şimşek has outlined plans for visits to London and participation in an event by the International Monetary Fund in Morocco. Additional meetings are scheduled in Japan, Singapore, and Hong Kong by the year's end. Sounds like they're visiting all the people they owe money to. Hong Kong has some big dreams for Web3. Hi, Al Hashmi 844. Nice to have you with us. And Binance user 6D48C. And hi, Pasinduano Daya. I wonder if there's anybody in the comments who changed their names just to mess with people doing live streams trying to pronounce their name. That would be hilarious. I'm just saying. Hong Kong's Financial Secretary Paul Chen Mo-po is championing the potential of Web3 technology. Web3 promises innovations like NFTs, gamify, and play-to-earn gaming, reshaping digital entertainment. Cyberport, a tech hub in Hong Kong, is positioned as a hotbed for Web3 innovations with significant funding and over 180 tech companies. That's a lot of tech companies. Bold ambitions are pulsing through Hong Kong's tech hubs. Hong Kong's financial compass, Paul Chan Mo-po, isn't one to let sleeping dogs lie, especially when the future of the digital realm is unfolding right before our eyes. At the forefront of the digital revolution, Hong Kong stands tall, yearning for what the Web3 era has to offer. Web3 isn't just another fancy tech term. Its foundations in blockchain technology signal a shift in how we perceive digital interaction. NFTs, gamify, play-to-earn gaming, immersive entertainment, you name it. These aren't mere digital toys. They're the vanguard of the digital entertainment's next epoch. Blockchain's decentralized nature introduces a sense of transparency and security, changing the way industries ranging from finance to supply chains operate. It's no longer business as usual. But here's where things get juicy. Upon visiting the Digital Entertainment Leaders Forum at Cyberport, Chan threw his weight behind the potential of Web3. For those in the dark, Cyberport isn't just any tech park. It's a sprawling, bustling hub for innovation, home to tech enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. It's a breeding ground for the digital dreams of tomorrow. It's a Web3 cauldron. It's boiling with innovation. Earlier this year, Hong Kong's financial guru allocated a whopping $50 million to Cyberport, ensuring that it's turbocharged for Web3's imminent dominance. This isn't just a mere financial nod, it's a bold statement to the world that Hong Kong means business. With more than 180 Web3 tech firms under its massive canopy, Cyberport stands as a beacon for innovation. What's even more tantalizing? A good chunk of these companies, about 20%, aren't even homegrown. They've jetted in from around the globe seeking the fertile ground that Hong Kong offers. Now let's address the elephant in the room, China. Our northern neighbor has been giving the cold shoulder to cryptocurrencies for what feels like eons. But Hong Kong, we're charting our own course. By rolling out crypto friendly policies, Hong Kong is paving the way to become the go to global digital asset hub. Hong Kong's commitment doesn't stop at mere words and financial boosts. The creation of a Web3 task force demonstrates a hands on approach, ensuring the industry's growth is both responsible and sustainable, and the fruits are already showing. Come August 3rd, and Hong Kong's crypto scene experienced a seismic shift. Hashkey, a local crypto exchange, broke barriers. No longer was it tethered to the confines of institutional investors. The floodgates for retail investors were now wide open. In a world where digital landscapes are continually shifting, Hong Kong is carving its niche. Paul Chen Mopo's drive and vision, combined with the relentless pursuit of innovation at hubs like Cyberport, means Hong Kong is not just ready for the Web3 era, it's leading it. The future might be uncertain for many, but for Hong Kong, it's as bright as the neon lights that grace its streets. It's high time the rest of the world takes notice. I'll just put one caveat to that. China can turn it off whenever they feel like it. Just saying. The real reason BRICS is letting in the oil giants. BRICS has strategically invited several oil giants, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran. The inclusion is seen as a power move, especially by China and Russia, to challenge Western dominance. Expert Daniela Schwarzer suggests this expansion is an attempt to counter the waning influence of the G7. When BRICS announced their intention to welcome Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iran, Argentina, Egypt, and Ethiopia into their fold, it wasn't just about expanding the group's clout. It's more profound, and if you dig deeper, much more strategic. This isn't merely a welcoming of nations, it's the assimilation of powerhouses. Three of these nations, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, dominate the world's oil and gas sector. This is a direct nod to the bloc's strategic objectives, led primarily by China and Russia. Dr. Daniela Schwarzer, known for her razor-sharp insights and valued counsel to governments such as France and Germany, sheds light on this recent development. For those unfamiliar, Schwarzer holds an esteemed position on the executive board at Bertelsmann Stiftung in Germany and boasts a decorated history as a policy advisor. The woman knows what she's talking about. Her take: Western leaders need a wake-up call. The G7's global GDP share is waning, and this BRICS expansion is a determined stride toward establishing a formidable counterbalance. While the 15th BRICS summit wrapped up with all its usual aplomb, the real headline was the proposed expansion. According to the inside sources, notably Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, the invitation to join the bloc has been unanimously accepted. Let's see. Come January 1st, these countries will join, and they're saying the global economic landscape might look dramatically different, but it doesn't stop there. Alexander Lukashenko, Belarus's president, holds a view that many might find resonant. He acknowledges that the West dominance persists, but posits that BRICS' decision to amplify its base marks a pronounced move toward a multipolar world. It's worth noting that Belarus has expressed its interest in joining this influential bloc among 22 other nations. And it's worth noting that they aren't actually independent, but that's another story. And then there's the dollar. In a world where the US dollar holds undeniable sway, BRICS has indicated an interest in championing the usage of local currencies in global trade and financial operations. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Something a lot of people that say this is going to change the markets and everything seem to forget is most of these countries hate each other. That's going to be interesting. SBF is still fighting to leave prison before trial. SBF is fervently battling to be temporarily released from prison to aid in his defense preparation. His primary defense tools are online documents, which he can't access in jail. Defense emphasizes his Sixth Amendment right and has requested more frequent meetings with internet access. So that's what's going on that end. XRPL Labs and Zahao Ledger partner to boost XRP retail adoption. Okay. We'll see how that goes. Fidelity missed a chance to compete with Coinbase, claims Jerka Bulovitz. Jerko Bulovic, ex-Fidelity executive, claims Fidelity could have been a strong competitor to Coinbase in the crypto sector. Bulovic argues that Fidelity should have taken advantage of an opportunity by being moderate in its early involvement with digital assets. Alex Thorne from Galaxy Digital agrees, stating that Fidelity was ahead of most traditional financial institutions entering the crypto space. Interesting. So, missed opportunity there. Carbon Registry, Carbon-Base joins forces with HBAR and Impact X for digital solution. Carbon-Base is partnered with HBAR Foundation and Impact X to launch the Global Climate Registry, GCR, marking the debut of Asia's first digital native carbon registry. The GCR initiative is set to accelerate the digitization of the measurement, reporting, and verification process in the carbon credit market. The GCR will adopt the work of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers Committee on Standard for Measurement and Verification of Reduction of Greenhouse Gases for Climate Action Projects and Solutions as its research counterpart for standards and methodology. Kartik Kulkarni, co-chair of IEEE's Committee on MRV Standards for Climate Action, welcomes the collaboration. I'm pleased that many stakeholders, including Carbon-Base and Impact X, are working with IEEE to evolve a new standard to enable climate action projects such as agroforestry, renewable energy, carbon removal technologies, and community-led initiatives to report, measure, and verify their climate impacts in credible and cost-effective ways, he said. Catherine Foster, executive director of the Green Digital Finance Alliance and former Canadian climate diplomat, also praised the initiative. GCR presents a pivotal milestone in the intersection of climate change, digital green finance, and blockchain technology. By enabling transparent carbon credit issuance and trading, this initiative will drive greater accountability and unlock funding for impactful climate initiatives that support local communities, she noted. I'll just hope it doesn't hurt the agricultural sector and we end up starving from it. Because that's what a lot of companies are doing with their carbon credits. They're buying farmland and then just letting weeds grow. So reducing the amount of land used for making food for people to survive. It's a strange thing that's going on. Ripple Labs celebrates landmark legal victory against the SEC. Ripple Labs is hosting a victory party in New York City on September 29th to celebrate its recent legal win against the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Beyond the celebration, the event serves as a platform for reflecting on the broader implications of Ripple Labs' legal triumph. But it's going to appeal, so that's a strange time to celebrate. I guess celebrate whenever you have a win. Hi, Ednan143. Nice to have you with us. And Binance user 511-2B. Nice to have you with us as well. Gold prices in Japan soar past 10,000 yen per gram amid economic uncertainty. On Tuesday, the retail cost of gold in Japan crossed the 10,000 yen, or $68.31 per gram mark for the first time, reaching 10,001 yen per gram. Japanese yen depreciation against the US dollar continues due to Fed credit control, rising interest rates, and rising gold prices. The yen's weakening trend against the dollar has continued, reaching mid-146 level. This movement was influenced by Jerome Powell, the chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve, who recently stated that the central bank would uphold its strict control over credit. That prompted investors to favor the dollar over the yen, foreseeing a growing difference in interest rates between Japan and the United States. Even as international gold prices measured in dollars stay elevated, the swift devaluation of the Japanese yen is propelling domestic gold prices higher within Japan. Tuesday witnessed strong buyer interest in gold for the second consecutive day, nearly touching a 2-week peak achieved on the prior day. During the Asian trading session, the gold to USD rate remained above $1,920, so $1,920, aided by a slight dip in US dollar value. The US dollar index, DXY, which gauges the USD's performance against various currencies, retraces from its peak on June 1st that was reached last Friday. This decline supports gold, primarily influenced by decreased yields on U.S. Treasury bonds. Yet the Federal Reserve raising interest rates in the future could counterbalance substantial drops in the U.S. dollar. Recently, Powell also addressed persistent high inflation, reaffirming the Fed's intention to implement rate hikes as a response. Hi, Domino 741. Nice to have you with us. Hong Kong is a fintech leader with the launch of Hashkey Exchange. So we discussed that earlier. ICP's Ledger Live integration, fragment of a grand vision. I think we've discussed this about a week ago. The internet computer has brought about a new era of decentralized applications and transactions. Like many endeavors within the cryptocurrency domain, the Internet Computer Protocol, ICP, extends beyond offering a mere digital currency. The ICP token, accessible for acquisition and trading through platforms such as Coinbase, constitutes merely a fragment of a larger vision. This article will provide a detailed guide on Ledger Live integration with Internet Computer, the technical details, and the benefits. But first, okay, so this explains what the Internet Computer is. Ledger Live integration with Internet Computer, full public key derivation and address generation, ICP transactions, neuron management, how to use Ledger Live with the Internet Computer, how to connect, how to receive ICP coins in your account, how to stake ICP coins. So if you're interested in ICP's ecosystem, definitely check this article out. Genesis vows 70 to 90% returns for creditors in new deal. Digital currency group DCG has made significant strides towards resolving the financial troubles of its crypto lending subsidiary, Genesis. The core essence of this agreement lies in the potential recoveries for unsecured creditors, estimated to range between 70% to 90%, contingent on the approval of the amended plan. The revised plan introduces a novel approach to debt repayment, allowing for recovery spanning from 65% to 90% on an in-kind basis, dependent on the specific digital asset denomination. Fascinating. We'll see how it goes. That's an interesting way of doing it. Solana-based automation startup Clockwork announces shutdown. Clockwork, a Solana-based smart contract automation startup, announced its decision to shut down operations by the end of October due to limited commercial upside, marking another closure in the Solana ecosystem. The founder, Nick Garfield, cited simple opportunity cost as the reason for the shutdown, stating that the team is interested in exploring new opportunities. Clockwork's code will remain open source, and a meaningful portion of the seed money still remains. Okay, see how that goes. Somebody picks up the what they put down. Hi, Malik 4800 and Sahabuddin 1122. Nice to have you with us. Hello. UK shop price inflation drops owing to decreased food costs pressure. The UK was amongst the highest inflation rates in the Western world. UK shop price inflation reached its lowest level in nearly a year in August, with a 6.9% annual rate, down from 8.4% in July. Shop prices decreased due to lower food expenses, with food inflation dropping to 11.5% in August, the lowest level since September. Still pretty high. Like 2 digits is not normal for most of these economies. In August, consumer confidence improved by 5 points, with inflation rates easing and rising earnings, indicating a positive outlook on financial situations and the economy. Okay. Helen Dickinson, the CEO of the British Retail Consortium, explained that the reduction in shop prices was mainly due to the expenses related to food, especially products like meat, potatoes, and certain cooking oils. The inflationary pressures, especially concerning food, have been a significant concern. The BRC's data indicated that food inflation eased to 11.5% in August, a decrease from the previous month's 13.4% and the lowest level since September of the previous year. The surge in food prices and the substantial increase in energy costs following Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year have been the primary causes of the ongoing cost of living crisis. Over the past months, the cost of electricity and gas has been decreasing, contributing to a reduction in the overall inflation rate in the UK. Despite this, the inflation rate remains persistently high at 6.8% in July. Recent official data has also shown a slight relief in the inflation rates for food and non-alcoholic beverages. July dropped to 14.9%, down from the previous month's 17.3%, continuing the decline from the peak of 19.2% recorded in March, which was the highest in 45 years. Like I said, it's not normal for these types of economies to have double-digit inflation numbers. That's half of Turkey's inflation. Research conducted earlier this year by the London School of Economics proposed that around 30% of the increase in UK food prices since the end of 2019 could be attributed to trade barriers that emerged post-Brexit. So this might have to do with them switching their trading partners around so they can get food in cheaper from somewhere else. They have to change their entire supply network. The latest data from the BRC indicates that the slowdown in the inflation of food prices is an ongoing trend, providing some relief for the numerous households grappling with high costs. The most significant reduction in pricing pressure was observed in fresh food, where inflation dropped to 11.6% this month. That marked a decrease from July's 14.3% and represented the lowest level in a year, according to the BRC. Regarding ambient food, which includes items stored at room temperature, inflation also slowed down. It reached 11.3%, down from July's 12.3%, making it the lowest since January. Price pressures for toiletries and cosmetics also declined due to the decreased cost of various essential components. On the other hand, inflation in clothing and footwear went up as retailers concluded an extensive summer sales season, as noted by the BRC. Mike Watkins, the head of retail and business insight at Nielsen IQ, highlighted that recent poor weather conditions had suppressed demand. He also anticipated that consumers would maintain a cautious approach to discretionary spending even with the easing of inflation in the UK. And UK consumer confidence has improved. Consumer optimism in the UK unexpectedly saw a positive shift in August, nearly reversing the decline observed in July. This could indicate a potential alleviation of strain on household expenses as inflation shows a decline. Consumer confidence, as measured by an index from consumer research from GfK, increased by 5 points to reach minus 25 this month, a notable improvement from the previous month's minus 30. This outcome exceeded the expectations of economists who had foreseen the level to remain unchanged at minus 30. Against a backdrop of falling inflation, higher interest rates, and rising weekly earnings, consumer confidence has regained momentum this month, said Joe Staton, client strategy director at GfK. The headline inflation rate decreased to 6.8% in July, down from 7.9% in June. Meanwhile, core inflation, which excludes the influence of fluctuating food and energy prices, remain unchanged. Meanwhile, average weekly earnings overtook the inflation rate in the 3 months to June, rising 7.8% on the year. And although the index remains negative, the outlook for consumers' financial situation for the coming year is heading toward positive territory, the key to indicating the future financial position of households. So the UK's found a way out of their crisis, it looks like. Hi, Binance user 167A4. Nice to have you with us. Hi, Serg UFKC. Nice to have you with us. John Deaton. Oh, wait a second. Indian crypto exchange CoinSwitch trims workforce amid market slump. They laid off 44 employees from its customer support team. Let's see how much. Making up about 7% of its total workforce due to a significant decrease in customer queries. The layoffs follow a similar trend in the crypto industry, with another Indian crypto exchange, CoinDCX, recently laying off 12% of its workforce, citing a prolonged bear market and tax implications. Despite the downsizing, CoinSwitch remains optimistic about rehiring affected employees for future roles, suggesting that the layoffs are a response to broader market conditions rather than company-specific issues. Yeah, the market's been tough. And John Deaton accuses SEC's Bill Hinman of lying under oath. John Deaton accuses the SEC of straying from its primary mission, particularly in digital asset regulation. Deaton criticizes the SEC's framework, approved by Hinman, for ignoring the common enterprise factor of the Howey test. Hinman allegedly benefited financially from his law firm's involvement with Bitcoin and Ethereum mining company Canaan. John Deaton, a well-known pro-crypto lawyer, has accused the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission of losing sight of its primary mission. He specifically questioned the testimony of Bill Hinman, the former director of corporation finance at the SEC. Hinman had stated under oath that the SEC could only satisfy some aspects of the Howey test to establish an offer or sale as an investment contract. Deaton raised concerns about this statement, suggesting that it leaves only two possibilities. Either Hinman was inadequately qualified for his position, or he knowingly lied under oath. Could be both. Deaton pointed out that digital assets and the Ripple XRP case perfectly exemplify the SEC's alleged neglect. He criticized the SEC's framework for digital assets, which was drafted and approved by Hinman. This framework notably ignored the common enterprise factor of the Howey test. The Howey test is a legal framework used to determine whether certain transactions qualify as investment contracts and thus fall under the purview of U.S. federal securities laws. Ignoring aspects of this test could have significant implications for the classification of digital assets like Ripple's XRP. Deaton also raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest involving Hinman. He highlighted instances where Hinman's law firm took the Bitcoin and Ethereum mining equipment company Canaan public. Hinman allegedly benefited from Canaan's profits and received a substantial sum from a law firm associated with the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. Deaton called for regulatory reforms to prevent such conflicts of interest and maintain transparency in the sector. The allegations against Bill Hinman have stirred controversy and raised questions about the SEC's role in regulating digital assets. Deaton's call for regulatory reforms emphasizes the need for transparency and the prevention of conflicts of interest within the agency. As the debate continues, it remains to be seen how these allegations will impact the SEC's future actions and the broader landscape of digital asset regulation. All right, so that's the news for today. Let's go check the pricing right now. So yeah, Bitcoin is still near $26,000. It's at $26,092 and 55 cents, up 0.07% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum is at $1,647.84, up 0.03% in the last 24 hours, up 0.22% in the last hour. Today, the Fear and Greed Index is at 35, which I believe was the same as yesterday, if I remember correctly. I look at this every day, so after a while, it's hard to remember each day's Fear and Greed Index. BNB is at $217.99, up 5.37% over the last week, up 0.05% of the last 24 hours. It just went to exactly $218. XRP at 51 cents 85, down 0.11% in the last 24 hours. Binance Live has this thing where it basically turns off watching for me after an hour if I don't refresh the page. It's so strange. So if you guys wrote anything while I was looking at this, I didn't see it. Sorry about that. It's part of what happens when you're live. All right, so let's see. We checked that out. ADA, Cardano, down 0.20% to 26 cents, 2.2. Dogecoin is at 6 cents, 293, up 0.39%. Solana's Sol is at $20.37, down 0.55%. And let's look at the biggest winners in the last 24 hours. We got XDC from the XDC network up 15.18% to 5 cents 923, which is the only one in the 2 digits positive percentage growth in the last 24 hours, down 1.02% in the last hour. So if you have that, keep an eye on it. Avalanche, AVAX is 2.62% up in the last 24 hours to $10.45. Still going up in the last hour, 0.43%, which is much. Ton from ton coin up 2.40%. In the last 24 hours, up 1.13% in the last hour, and is sitting at $1.53 right now. Polkadot is at $4.58, up almost 2% in the last 24 hours, up 0.43% in the last hour. So that's what's going on there. Let's look at the biggest losers since yesterday. Pepe, for obvious reasons. Now that we've gone through that, saw that some members of the team actually took money out of the project wallet from what we could sell. In the last 24 hours, down 5.37%, down almost 22% in the last 7 days, but up a little bit, almost 1% in the last hour, strangely enough. Sui dropped 4.83% in the last 24 hours to 51 cents 58. Wu dropped 4.50% to 16 cents 11. Frax share FXS dropped 2.74% to $5.77. Qcoin token down 3.15% to $4.26. And then we have a lot of things that are between 1 and 3% down here. But like I said, the fear and greed index is at 35, so it's quite low. So that's what's going on today. Curious. So today, Binance is still number one in trading volume, as always, by quite a big margin, like $2 billion. Just looking at this real quick. And yeah, the volume graph for trade looks pretty much the same everywhere. It's been a dip. Let's look at DEXs real quick. DYDX, Uniswap v3, Kind Protocol. That's interesting. Kind Protocol is just barely above Uniswap in trading volume in the last 24 hours. Just barely above in market share as well. It only has 22 markets, whereas Uniswap has 825. That's interesting. There's Arbitrum, Ethereum, BSC. Just interesting every once in a while to take a look and see who's up there. Uniswap v3 for Optimism, $31 million was like number one is $360 million pretty much. Interesting. How's the lending going? No data available now. Yep, well, that's the end of our show today. Thank you for joining us. Binance user 511 2B, Adnan 143, Amnesia 04. And Binance user 036D9. Which project are you saying is a good project, by the way? It'll take a while for you to answer that. We talked about quite a few. And there's a difference between how soon your messages come through and what I'm talking about. So it's hard to tell what you're talking about. Not sure if you're talking about a cryptocurrency or a DEX or a centralized exchange. That's fine. Thank you all for showing up, all of 1,100 of you on the live stream and talking about the news with me today. A few of you actually had things to say about it. That's always nice to have a little bit of a conversation, a little bit of back and forth. That's why this show is called Hashed Out. Well, I'm going to set up the show for tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe so you get notifications when we're going to go live, so you can jump on like I guess Kiko67 does every time. Yeah, just thanks for jumping on, and even those that share boxes, thank you for jumping on. It's cool to see some life in the chat, even when it's not directly linked to what we're talking about during the show. But thanks for jumping on. Have a great evening, and subscribe so you get notifications for the next shows. See ya.